Hello everybody, Glass Half Dead here, and before we get into the tier list for the LGT, we have a giveaway. To be clear, you do not have to like the video, dislike the video, join my Patreon, join my Discord, anything like that. All you have to do is be the first person to guess what these two models are on screen right now. I will give you a hint. One of them is a GW model. One of them possibly isn't. Okay, now that we've done that, let's get over to the tier list for the LGT. Hey everybody, another quick note before we get into the video. If you are new to Kill Team and you're looking around to see which faction is viable, firstly they're all viable except Kroot. But if you also need a roster for your Kill Team, a list, go and check out my other video, beginner rosters for every Kill Team faction. Obscurely titled, I realise. There'll be a link below to that, and also a link up here somewhere maybe that you can click on, so you can find out firstly in this video, is your faction viable in a competitive format, and then you can see what list you should be running for a beginner. Alright, enjoy. Okay everybody, as we know, the LGT is coming up in September now, and I thought it might be a bit of fun to do a tier list for it. The LGT format is very similar to the current Slaughter Zone style and LVO style format, having 4 primaries, which is hold 1, hold more, kill 1, kill more. The difference between LGT and the other packs are the way secondaries are played, which is it's an open pick of secondaries, similar to LVO, except you can only pick each secondary once. Now, that's the format. So, of course, we're going to be looking at mid-range teams that are flexible in what they can do. Because at the start of the tournament, they might be going for kills, and then at the end of the tournament, they might be having to go for positionals, something like that. So if you have a faction that can only really do one thing, even if you could do that very well, you might not be able to win based on secondary picks towards the end of the tournament. So I'm going to start this off quite roughly and then jiggle things around as I put more models down and think about it. So I like Necrons, they're good stuff. Azayani, of course. Admech, because they're flexible, not because I think they're OP, as some people do, but because they're flexible. I'm a big fan of Imperial Guard. I'm going to put Nids below them. I think Death Guard probably are in par with Nids. Grey Knights, the reason Grey Knights are going to go below them... Oh, I am going to move all of these in a second, hold on. This is just getting a few things on the board so I can focus about where I want to put everything else in relation to them first. So Grey Knights are always such a tricky pick. They could dominate. There's such high variance. Same for Custodes, really. They have such a high variance that sometimes they will dominate a tournament and look absolutely impossible, similar to Custodes here. But other times you just don't get the rolls, and they're just terrible. With that said, I do think, genuinely, Custodes are below Grey Knights. So let's move everybody up. Oh, wait, I put Tyranids there. Okay, this is the current list. Tau, we've got to place Tau. Tau must be up there. Now, Tau haven't won anything recently, which is super weird. They're not a bad team. But because of that, I'm going to have to put them down here. I think Tau are a great counter for the Death Guard, which almost blocks the Death Guard from going any higher. They're also a really good counter against certain other things. I think they're strong against Admech, actually. But Admech do have more tools. They're more flexible. Tau do one thing and they do it really well. Oh, okay, here's an easy pick. Kroot on D. Kroot on my D. Yeah, I said it. Okay, Demons. Ooh, they're a tough pick. I might not put them there yet, actually. Let's talk Elysidian Starstriders. Yeah, see, these are the ones where I kind of want to be a bit controversial, put it a bit higher. And in reality, we haven't seen enough play of them. I don't think they're terrible. Okay, they're not D tier. They're not Kroot, alright? They can do some things very interestingly. However, I suppose arguably they're stronger in Arena, because you can really get Nosopron stuck in there. You could take advantage of the Tech Priest, his invuln stuff. You can also use Door Shenanigans, Door Shenags, if you will. But you can't do that in the LGT because it's going to be open. So I'm going to stick with them on C, or put them down to D later. Let's wait and see. Now let's put Servants of the Abyss. Again, Servants of the Abyss, really strong in Arena. They've taken a slight nerf since the annual, but honestly, you shouldn't need more than 4 of those. They're not Arco-Flagellants, that's what the sisters have. Whippy Boys, I call them. You shouldn't need more than 4 of the Whippy Boys and 4 of the Beastmen, that's more than enough. You take those 8, you take a Psyker for the lols, and 1 regular dude to sit at the back. It's a solid team. It doesn't have a huge amount of flexibility though. So I'm going to keep them quite low, because they do one thing, and I don't think they really do much else. They don't have the shooting power. Although, with that said, if somebody ran them, I could see them doing quite well with a Psyker. Definitely want to take a Psyker in an open board. You still take those 8, and then I guess you fill the rest out with regular troop dudes, so that you can score positionals, whilst your Psyker and your 4 guys get kills. Problem is, you're super weak. Super weak. Okay, going for Thousand Suns now. I actually think Thousand Suns are stronger than Grey Knights, so they have to go at least above Grey Knights. 100%. Alright, let's sort out this mess I've got at the top. I suppose we have to put Azayani up there. I'm going to say the main reason why is because they're extremely high movement and Banshees. That's genuinely why. Banshees. If they didn't have Banshees, I probably wouldn't put them up there. But Banshees gives them so much ability to counter other armies that you can run amok with them. For example, it's a hard counter to Tau. It's a hard counter to most of Imperial Guard, etc., etc. It's also a pretty damn hard counter to Admech. It just does crazy things. Now, obviously, it's only 1, possibly 2 models in your list. But that's enough, because you're not even trying to get kills with it. You are locking down enemy abilities, essentially. So if you get 1 Banshee into, what, a Tau sniper nest, even if you only manage to get in with 2 of them, let's say, the recon drone and, what, 2 of the rail rifles, they've lost all their ability to kill. You have won the game there from a single model. Even if they then get lucky and kill your Banshee, it's not really that big of a deal. I'm going to move Guard to S+. Now, this hasn't been borne out in tournament results, but I'm going to say that's because tournament people aren't running them enough. I think they're really strong. I think they are possibly the strongest team out there. If I were to go to LVO again, and I had time to actually prepare, I would take these guys. Now, obviously, LVO is very slightly different to LGT, but at the LGT, if I were playing, obviously I'm not, and I was like, I've got to win, I'd probably go Guard. I think they're really strong, and I think they are undeniably so. That's the way it is. Necrons are probably up there with them as well. Let's just make that move. Are they? Guys. Okay, we know Necrons are tough. We know reanimation protocols is really frustrating sometimes. Their melee, because of the, I'm going to say the Novok dynasty, I don't know if that's the right one. I think it's Novok, not Mefrit. But the one that allows them to reroll failed hits on the charge or when charged. Takes them to the next level, and they've got strength 4, 0 AP attacks, but rerolling hits and wounds. That's just so efficient. My god, it may as well be a psychic attack. It's insane. The only thing you're not getting to an injury roll with are 2-up saves. And for those, you just take your Lich Guard. Like, it's such a boring list to run, but 10 Flayed Ones and 1 Lich Guard is so incredibly strong. Or even drop that to 8 Flayed Ones and 2 Lich Guard. It's really difficult to beat that. Like, that's a really strong list, and annoyingly so. But, with that said, I'm probably going to keep them S, and then, shocker, I'm actually going to move Admech down. I know that everybody else, kind of since LVO, has been raving about Admech being really, really strong. And they are really, really strong. But I don't think they're on the same level as everything else. You know what? They're probably on the same level as Necrons. Let me rethink this. Okay. We'll put that there. We'll move these guys to here. No, he's there. He's there. Death Guard there. Tau. They're probably there as well. Okay. No, are Admech the same as Necrons? I've beaten Admech many a time. I've never played against Necrons. Huh. That's weird. So I think I'm going to keep them... No. No, I'm going to move Admech down to this tier. I might change that later. Hold your britches, chaps. I'm still building the list, crafting it. Okay, next up we've got Heretic Astartes, the old Chaos Boys. Where are they going to go? They have some really interesting things they can do, Heretic Astartes. They have very cheap Terminators, and they have Berserkers. However, and maybe I'm just playing counter factions for them, so they're never really able to truly dominate. I'm always scared of Berserkers whenever I see them on the board. I don't think they've ever done much to me. They've always been so underwhelming. I'm gonna put them there. But then I'm saying that they're the same power level as Elicidian Starstriders? Yeah? I guess I am? Alright. Sisters, this'll shock you, go above them. Now, no they don't. Hold on, let me think. Okay, sisters, a Sister of Battle isn't very useful. However, they have some interesting special weapons that you can use. The Sister of Repentia has never been a performer for me. I think in all my practice games, she got 1 kill and that was it. Where Sisters of Battle come into their own are the Arcoflagellants. Just spam those. 2 wounds, really good, actually. Surprisingly so. 13 points, not terrible. You know, just looking at it, I think, yeah. I think Sisters are a solid B-tier army. You know, in that lineup I've just made, you take the Arcoflagellants, they can put out some serious hurt, or at the very least tie up some opponents. You have a few 3-up armor save Sisters of Battle to sit on positionals and objectives. They can get some work done. I don't think they're too shabby. Astartes, I'm going to leave Astartes for a little bit and go with Harlequins next. I think Harlequins are probably around the same tier as everybody else there. The thing with Harlequins is similar to Grey Knights, very swingy. If you fail a few armor saves, you have no team. Gosh, maybe they should even be less. No, but they can't be. If I've put Grey Knights as B tier because of their high variance, then equally they have to be B tier because of the high variance. Although actually, no, I think that Grey Knights are stronger. Not just against Harlequins, obviously. I mean in the meta. In the LGT meta. I'm going to drop Harlequins to C. Gosh. The other thing is, with so few models and not really having ranged attacks, once you've used up your kill secondaries, you're kind of done. Orcs. Orcs are an interesting one. I'm not putting them there. I'm just putting them in there so that we can see them. Orcs have shooting. They have a shooting list. They have a close combat list. They have bodies. They don't really have resilient bodies. Don't get me wrong, T4 is great. I think the flash kits are T5 with a 4-up save. That's pretty damn durable. But if you're taking that, you're taking your shooting list. I haven't seen anybody run Mega Knobs, which is a real shame. I also haven't seen anybody run all knobs, which I think there might be something to that. Probably not in open, though. Probably not in open. It might be in arena. There's a thing there. I think we are going to be seeing more orcs getting played after last weekend, where Gazcol got his release, because there was Gazcol. There was the Prophet of the Wolf box where there's Gazcol, 5 knobs, 3 mega knobs. I think we might see a lot more people running knobs and mega knobs just because they now have them. If I were to place orcs, they're probably A tier. Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm not sure. I'm going to keep them with A tier. Again, I'm going to re-look over everything at the end and decide where it is. Gene Stealer Cults, D tier. Didn't even have to think. I think Gene Stealer Cults suck. One thing I've seen somebody, my regular opponent, be running them as is he's taking pistol flamers and whips on pretty much every... If he can get a whip on someone, he will do that. Which means that all you have to do is get into combat and you're probably killing something, which is actually pretty good. Remove that fear for a Gene Stealer. So the big thing about a Gene Stealer Cultist is that they're going to die, right? So your Acolytes, you give them a whip, Yes, they're going to die, but they are going to almost certainly kill something on their way out as well. I like that as a concept, but I don't think it's beaten me yet. I'll move them up to C. They're not as good as everything else there, though. I wouldn't put them on the... No. They've got to be D tier. Again, I'm going to come back, have a think. Gellerpox. C tier. Deathwatch. Ooh. I'll do Deathwatch later. Drukhari. S. Maybe S+. Drukhari really strong. They have a lot of good matchups. That's the reason they're strong. They can be durable. They can be killy. They can have numbers. They can be elite. They can do it all. Drukhari. So they might actually be S+. I'll come back to them in a moment. Right, then we have demons. So interestingly, in the London meta, nobody plays demons. Well, apart from the guy that I play against, but he never goes to tournaments. So I'm going to put demons on B, because the problem is, so they're a very interesting army. Everybody has a 5-up save. The majority that you're going to see on the table are T3, except the leader, who will be the Plague Ridden, who is T4. If they get into combat, they're quite scary, but they have quite a few hard counters, because they're countered by Strength 3 no AP weapons. Obviously, you can do better than that, but that's a good enough gun to kill them. So I'd probably say they are where they are. Now let's get to the interesting ones. Deathwatch and Adeptus Astartes. Let's go Adeptus Astartes first. I think that if a roster was infinitely long, Astartes would probably dominate the game. Because you are limited to 20 models, I think Astartes cannot take all of the tools that they need to do what they need to do. So for example, let's take AdMech. With AdMech, you have you're a toolbox army, and you can't have, 10 different lists. But the core of each of your lists is the same. So you will always take the same 4 or 5 models, let's say, which means you then only have to fill in another 4 or 5 models across the rest of the rosters. So you can quite easily get perhaps 6 lists into a 20-man roster. With Adeptus Astartes, it's not quite as easy. Yes, of course, you're still going to have models that you're like, well, I always take this guy, and I always take the Plasma Gunner Sniper, and I always take etc, etc. I think that to actually be a dominating presence on the board, Astartes need to be taking different sub-factions, which you then can't swap any of your models out. So in reality, you are getting at best 3? Nah, it'd be 2. You'd be getting 2 lists on the roster, and that's just not enough to be a toolbox army, which is what Astartes are. Yes, you've got the 3-up saves, but there's so much in S+ and S that don't really care that you have a 2-up save. You've got plasma spam to deal with. You've got re-rolling hits and wounds for the Necrons. You've got Drukhari doing mortal wounds. You've got plasma. You've got everything. You've got everything right there, and you can't really just take a guy with a bolt gun. That doesn't do much, which is kind of the trick with Astartes. You almost have to run them like you run Deathwatch. Everyone has to have a distinct purpose. A guy with a bolt gun is pointless. If he's there to sit on a point, you should be taking a scout with a bolt gun, right? A marine with a bolt gun doesn't make sense. So you give that marine, let's say you make him a veteran and you give him the special issue bolt gun. I can't remember what that's called. So that he's got some AP to it. And then you're like, well, if I've given him some AP, maybe I should give him the plasma, maybe I should give him the melter, the flamer, etc. Everyone is very unique in their role, but you don't have the roster space to do it with. Because of that, I'm gonna go C tier, I think. Honestly, it's roster space. That's my big reason that I wouldn't put them any higher. Okay, and then we have Deathwatch. So a lot of people at the moment are saying Deathwatch are not a good faction. I say Deathwatch aren't going to struggle at all against Kroot and GC cults, so they can go above them. The thing is, they have such great weapons, and they're not as dicey as Harlequins or Grey Knights, but could I really put them above Astartes? It's interesting. Before elites, before sub-factions, I'd say Deathwatch were 100% above Astartes. If you removed sub-factions from Astartes, I'd say Deathwatch are still the better faction. But because Astartes have access to sub-factions, and the sub-faction bonus that Deathwatch gets isn't nearly as useful as the Astartes sub-factions. And they don't get Death Denied at all. They also don't get, I can't, Heal Me Brother. I don't know what it's called. The one where you give it to the scout next to you or whatever it is. I guess they have to be on the same level as Astartes. They're not worse. They're a different faction. Right, let's have a think about this. Do I really want to keep Asuryani on top? Yes, I do, because they are exactly what I said when I began this conversation. They are a middle-of-the-range army that can quite easily outmodel other middle-of-the-range armies. They're super fast and they don't take a negative to their ballistic. So just by weight of numbers they can get kills because they're not taking those negatives, the modifiers. They have some amazing units, they have some great tools for the right job. If you know how to play them, I believe they are still top tier. Yeah, definitely. But again, they have quite a high skill floor. So to be good at them, you have to know what you're doing. And then the ceiling is equally high. Whereas, for example, somebody might come into Astartes and the skill floor is much lower because you've got those 3-up saves to keep you going until you've figured out the game. At which point you might want to move to Asuryani. Imperial Guard, big fan, love my Imperial Guard. I think they're S+. I think they hang with Asuryani no problem. I think they have the tools to take out pretty much anyone except Necrons. Weirdly, I don't think they have a good matchup in Necrons at all. Obviously, you have things like Pius Vaughn and Gottfred. Mainly Gottfred. He's only, they're 1-2 models. You need a little bit more because you need to really be able to chew through the numbers when it comes to Necrons. And those 6s are going to kill you, that's for sure. So I'm happy with both of them on S+. Now we have to think about Necrons. So as I just said, Necrons, they're happy to go against Imperial Guard. You want to plasma spam me? Go for it, buddy. That's great. Asuryani, if you know what you're doing, you can beat Asuryani. I couldn't. Well, I suppose I did it twice, but I'm happy with Necrons on S. And the reason for that is because I think their shooting is seriously lacking. Don't get me wrong, you can make lists with shooting Necrons. I have made lists with shooting Necrons. They're not terrible, but you kind of don't want to give up roster slots for models that aren't going to take advantage of your reroll hits on the charge. And so it's kind of like, yeah, I don't think they are genuine top tier. Like, they're really good. You can be top tier, but they are not as good. And with that said, I actually think, even though I have beaten Drukhari with Necrons, big shout out to Eduardo there, I'm going to put Drukhari top. Now, as we may have seen in a video I did earlier, the Spanish guys are currently getting a lot of wins with Drukhari, but that's also because a lot of them are playing Drukhari, so I don't think that's really representative. I just think that Drukhari, you have 4-up invuln saves on models with T4. I don't really have anything else to say. Also, in the same roster, you can fit out a full Mandrake list, which, by the way, is amazing. It's a boring list because it's just 9 or whatever of the same model. It's really good. I genuinely think that Drukhari are top tier. You will be seeing them. They will dominate. They're very fast. They can mortal wound spam with Mandrake shooting. And, yeah, they could do a lot. That's all I'm saying. Oh, and of course, there's nothing more infuriating than as an army who pays points to have good ballistic skill to be shooting at models that are always -2 to hit because you're -1 naturally from lurk in the shadows or whatever it is, and you know how to position, so you're always going to be behind cover. My gosh, it's so frustrating to always be hitting on 5s at best. Which takes us down to Tau. One of the big issues with Tau is often you find yourself fishing for 6s. If you're not going gun drones, you're going shield drones. Shield drones are really, really good at surviving and making sure that models around them survive. And they make pretty much anything, with a bit of decent positioning, they make pretty much anything able to survive whatever you can throw at them for a few turns. They can be countered. Auto-hitting weapons that hit a lot are great, obviously. If you can flamer spam, you can beat Tau. A bit of flamer spam, a little bit of careful allocation of where you need to put them, quite good. So, for example, Imperial Guard actually handle Tau pretty well. I want to move them. I want to put them up. You know what? I'm going to move them. I think Tau is still S tier. I think people losing with Tau haven't taken a fully optimized list. Let's talk about that. There aren't many ways to run Tau. I do like the Crisis Suit build. I think that's strong. That's solid if you need to get kills. But that's part of the thing. At the beginning of the game or against certain matchups, you can take that killy Crisis Suit build, and then you're not taking any of your positional secondaries, which you need to score for the rest of the game, the tournament. So you can quite easily swap between what you're doing. You can kill stuff, or you can do positionals, or you can do a mixture of both. But they have the ability to get all of that into a single roster. So actually, I like Tau for S+. I'm okay with that. Oh, sorry, S, not S+. S. I think I'm okay with Thousand Suns where they are. If they want to get the double Cybolt, then they're going to have to pay through the nose on the points. Or, of course, they can drop the double Cybolt to use the Hellstorm missile launcher. I think that's what it's called. Which is equally a really good weapon. But if you take that, you're not taking the double Cybolts. I'm happy with Thousand Suns where they are. They're a solid A tier army. But I don't think they can hang with the best. Let's talk Tyranids. Nobody's loving Tyranids. I am loving Tyranids. I am, however, going to keep them at A tier. Their shooting isn't great. We have to be honest. You can run a full shooting horde list with them. And that's not terrible. But you're then spending 7 points per termagant. Then you've got to start comparing it to a gun drone. And it's like, well, actually, I'd rather have gun drones probably. Yeah, I think that when it comes to Tyranid shooting, it seriously lacks. So that means you're forced down the melee side. And it has some really hard counters. You don't have an invuln save on any of your big guys, which means if you go up against a plasma, an admech guy or a rail rifle is going to take you off the board. You know, you're going to lose a big model a turn at best. Chances are you'll lose 2. So I think they have some pretty hard matchups, and for that reason they won't go any higher than A. I'm going to keep admech where they are. I've already talked about admech. They are where they are. I don't think they're as good as everybody suddenly says. As I've said before, I think Alex was a great player, and I think that good players can do a lot with admech. They require a very high skill floor as well, similar to Aziani, and because of that you can make mistakes. Orcs. I might move Orcs down, actually. But they've won. No, okay, so, I'm going to leave Orcs where they are. There you go. That moment of torment for me. No, so Orcs are staying where they are because basically they've got rosters that can do different things in different ways, which means you can handle a larger variety of enemies, and yeah, is what it is. I think I'm happy with them at A. I naturally wanted to move them down to B. Having thought about it, I don't think I will. If this was Arena, I'd shoot them right to S or S+. But Grey Knights, B tier. So I've already explained why Grey Knights. High variance, that's where they are. Death Guard. I think Death Guard are really good. I think a lot of people are still playing them kind of as Poxwalker spam, which did well in previous packets. That's not going to do brilliantly in this packet, similar to why it didn't do well in LVO or Slaughterfest, because of course you've got to look at things in the sense of you don't really want to give up kills. They have some really tough matchups because those Poxwalkers will die easily, and you can't go, ooh, Plague Marines. You do need a few Poxwalkers, but yeah, I'm happy with them at B. Alright, let's talk Sisters. I've already spoken about Sisters. No need to go over them. Demons, I might drop them to C, actually. That's a tough one. I'm going to drop them to C. I'm going to drop them to C, which now means that C is my average tier, which means this doesn't really make sense for granularity purposes on this, does it at all? Okay. Custodes, I haven't spoken about Custodes yet. They are similar in a sense to Grey Knights in that they are a high variance team. They're on C tier. It is what it is. They can do... You know what? I'm moving them up. I think Custodes should be B tier. I think they have some really... they're not fun to play against. You just don't kill them. But actually, once you know how to play Custodes, they can really get some work done. And 3 models is enough. Crazy as that might sound. So I'm going to make them B tier. Elucidian Star Striders, that's a bit of a wild pick. I've thrown it into C tier because I haven't seen enough people failing with them for me to put them lower. I think they're not bad. Okay, maybe not bad is a bit of a strong term, but I don't think they're terrible. So I genuinely think that Elucidian and Star Striders could pull out a win, or at least a top 8. And then I've talked about everybody else on that row, apart from Gelapox. So Gelapox are... I don't think they're the strongest. You know what? I think Gelapox need to go down. The problem with Gelapox is that you're going to be taking a lot of models that give your opponent a +1 to the injury roll, so they die easier. They may be harder to hit, but you probably have weight of fire at some point. Obviously, the big scary Nightmare Hulks are very scary, but I believe it's still only a 5-up save. It's 4 wounds, T 5 or 6, but 5-up invuln. Weight of fire will get through that. For example, Necron Flayed ones, they don't care. They will just chew through those, easy peasy. Yeah, in hindsight, I don't think Gelapox really stand a chance. This is, of course, a little bit frustrating because Gelapox Chris plays them really well and seems to always like max score. Unless he's cheating, that's possible, I suppose. But he seems to do really well with them. But now, as he's only one guy, and nobody else really seems to report consistent wins with them, I'm going to have to take them for what they are. D tier. Now, I would also like to note that I think every faction, apart from the D tier, could win. What it means is they are going to have some really tough matchups. But if you get the correct matchups and you really know your army, you could win LGT. 100%. I think the only faction that genuinely couldn't is Groot. I hate to say it, but I don't think Groot stands a chance. Everything else does. That's all I'm saying. So apart from Groot, any faction is viable. Certainly in fluffy games, but even in competitive LGT type games, all factions here are goers. And anyway, that's me done, Glass Half Dead here. I hope you've enjoyed watching my tier list for the LGT. Now, I'd like to know, which is your favourite faction? Which one would you like to play at the LGT? And which other faction are you most scared of playing against? And this is Glass Half Dead. I hope everyone's staying safe from the virus outbreak pandemic. And I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.